Happy New Year, folks! It's 2019. 2018's over, thank God. And I'm still talking about movies that came out in 2018. Totally on top of things. Anyway, as you can tell by the clearly very obvious title under the screen, we are looking at Bumblebee, the sixth movie in the somehow still going Transformers franchise. Yay, another Transformers movie for me to talk about, because I totally enjoyed talking about the last one. Anyway, I'm guessing you guys really want to hear my thoughts on Bumblebee. I mean, if you don't, okay. But, yeah, let's go talk about Bumblebee.
In the year 1987, Charlie, played by Hailee Steinfeld, who's on the brink of turning 18 and also struggling to find a place in the world, discovers Bumblebee, the battle-damaged Autobot taking refuge in a junkyard. Upon reviving him, the two quickly develop a strong friendship, and Charlie begins to learn that there is more than meets the eye. The original Transformers movie, based off the TV show, is one of my favorite animated movies of all time. And I think the first Transformers movie that Michael Bay directed is fine. It's not good, it's not bad, it's just one of those movies where if you turn your brain off, you're probably going to enjoy about 60% of it. Every other Transformers movie since then has gotten worse and worse. I wasn't hugely excited for Bumblebee, and I was prepared for the possibility that it might suck despite a change in director and the admittedly amazing trailers. So now that I've seen Bumblebee, I'll say this. I never thought I'd see the day where we'd get a good Transformers movie and a bad Harry Potter movie in the same year. Yeah, let's just take a moment to let that sink in. I'm serious. I really enjoy Bumblebee. I think it's a really, really, really good movie that's really hard not to have a good time with, even if you don't like Transformers. The best part of this movie is actually the friendship between Charlie and Bumblebee. A lot of the movie is focused on Bumblebee forming this friendship and camaraderie with Charlie, and I thought their dynamic and the way the two characters interacted with each other was really sweet, and at times pretty funny. Yeah, there are comparisons that can be made with Iron Giant or even E.T., but even though they use similar plot points to develop the bond between Bumblebee and Charlie, it never really comes across as tedious or pandering. It actually helps the relationship to feel more real, and that's something that this movie does better than every other live-action Transformers movie. In the other movies, I never felt like there was any sort of connection between the humans and the Transformers. A lot of the time, they just shout and scream at each other. That doesn't tell me Shia LaBeouf has a good relationship with the Autobots, that just tells me he hates them and is only there because the script wants him to be. In Bumblebee, they actually allow for the characters to have small contained moments where they literally just talk about their problems and things they used to do in the past. And that's great because it not only further develops the characters, but it establishes the bond between them. And yeah, it's way better than watching Shia LaBeouf or Mark Wahlberg screaming, "Optimus! Bumblebee!" It's because of this bond that I almost never rolled my eyes when the human characters were on screen. For real, whenever it was just Charlie or a friend Memo on screen, it was cool because they were actually interesting, funny, and quirky. They never once got on my nerves, unlike the other movies where half the time I'm just thinking, ew, humans, can we get back to the robots, please? Plus, the humans actually feel integral to the plot. They don't just end up feeling like they're there just for the star power, or just so the director can have something to focus the camera on to save money on visual effects. Hailee Steinfeld gives a fantastic performance in this movie. Her performance was very fun, but it also felt grounded and realistic, which helped to make the problems her character was facing in life more resonating, and yeah, in that sense, I found myself relating to her quite a bit. Bumblebee himself is also a huge highlight of this movie. He feels so much more fleshed out than he ever was in this entire franchise. This is actually the first Transformers movie I've seen in a long time where the Transformers were actually the central focus of the movie. Bumblebee as a character is developed through the use of visual storytelling, and it's amazing how much emotion they were able to convey just with his eyes. You can even read his facial expressions, despite the fact that technically Bumblebee doesn't even have a mouth. But as a whole, Bumblebee as well as every other Transformer in this movie looks amazing, not just visually, but also in design. I can actually look at Bumblebee and think, yeah, I can see how you can go from a robot into a yellow Volkswagen. Unlike this crap from Transformers 4 and 5, seriously, there is no way that can physically transform into a truck. The physics of that just don't add up. Bumblebee also incorporated a lot of the G1 designs from the original show, which I'm not gonna lie, was so nostalgic for me. I came so close to having a nerdgasm. I was so close. Speaking of actually transforming, this movie actually explores the concept of Decepticons and Autobots going from robot form to vehicle form, and the other way around, in ways I really did not see coming. Sometimes it was used for comedic effect and other times it was used in the action sequences, but whenever the Transformers did cool and unique things with their ability to transform, it was pretty badass. This movie also really took a dive into the mythos and backstory of the Transformers and really expanded the universe as a whole. I'm not going to spoil anything, but the things they do with the mythology in this movie just made me go, the action in this movie is awesome. I thought all the action sequences were terrifically done, mainly because I could actually see them. They weren't covered up by explosions or falling debris. I could see everything the Transformers were doing. Every punch, every flip, kick, you name it. The action sequences feel like they progress and change. They have unique moments. The action doesn't just go on forever with the same explosions, slow-mo, and falling debris everywhere that has stuck with the franchise ever since the first one. It slowly builds up as it goes, and because of that, it never feels boring or mindless. There is yet another military side plot in this movie. Why? Because all the other Transformers movies had one, so I guess Bumblebee needs one too. And once again, it is the weakest part of the movie. It didn't take me out of the movie or anything, it's just whenever it cut to two military dudes just talking military conspiracies and plots, it was kind of boring, and the pacing just tanked because essentially it was just a subplot that was put in there purely for exposition. They do make fun of it at times, which was pretty clever, I'll give them that, but every time it cut to the military side plot, I just thought, can we go back to whatever Bumblebee was doing? Please? Although it was cool seeing Decepticons teaming up with humans rather than the other way around for a change, but still, even John Cena's character in this movie just isn't that interesting. John Cena does fine with what he's got to work with, but I just didn't think he was all that interesting. He was just that soldier who was all like, aliens are bad, we should not trust them. Secondly, the comedy. I was pretty 70-30 on the comedy, 70 being really, really funny, and 30 being, ugh, really? The movie attempts to poke fun at the idea that Bumblebee is kind of a childish character, and I don't just mean that in the literal sense, it's part of who Bumblebee is, and when portrayed right, it can be really, really good. Here, it is done in a cool way, but sometimes when the movie is making fun of that, it sometimes comes across as kinda cringy. This isn't really a complaint, but I really cannot tell if this is a prequel to the Michael Bay movies or not. Yeah, I know the director Travis Knight has stated that this is in fact a prequel, and there are references in this movie that do suggest it is exactly that, but things happen in this movie that just contradict things that happen in the other movies, which means it probably isn't, but I don't know, maybe they'll clear it up in a sequel if they make it, but either way, it's a good movie, so. I had a lot of fun with Bumblebee, a lot more than I was even expecting to have, and it was also surprisingly emotional in some scenes. I guess Bumblebee is legitimate proof that this mostly lackluster franchise still has a shot at greatness. So with that said, Bumblebee gets a 9.2 out of 10. So guys, those are my thoughts on Bumblebee. I do hope you enjoyed this video. Yeah, imagine that, a good Transformers movie. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think the first one is fine, and even the animated original is one of my favorite animated movies of all time, as I said. But I just really do not have a soft spot for any of the sequels. 2 was awful, 3 was a fraction better, but still pretty bad. 4 was somehow even worse, and then 5, do not even get me started with 5. But Bumblebee, yeah, it's legit proof that this franchise does have the potential to be truly amazing. So, yeah, with that said, I did like Bumblebee, and also it's probably time for me to go because it's something past 1 in the morning over here as I'm recording, so anyway, what did you guys think of Bumblebee? Did you think it was good? Did you think it was bad? Did you think it was somewhere in the middle? Please leave your thoughts down in the comments below, and I will indeed see you guys in the next one. So, bye.